So when you think of a devout Hindu, what's the first image that pops into your head? For a lot of people, it's someone who's pure vegetarian. I mean, this idea is everywhere, right? From family dinners to, really heated political debates. But is that really the whole story? Okay, let's actually dive in and see what the data and the history have to say.
To get us started, just think about this for a second. If we polled 100 Hindus into a room, just a random sample, how many of them do you think would be non-vegetarians? 20? Maybe 30? Just take a guess. I think the real answer is going to surprise you.
The answer, according to a massive survey by the Pew Research Center, is 56. Yep, more than half. So, right off the bat, that brings up a huge question. If the majority of Hindus actually eat meat, where on earth did this whole idea of the pure vegetarian Hindu even come from?
So, this number, this surprising statistic, is our jumping-off point. We really have to figure out how this reality fits with the popular image. So, let's dig into these numbers just a little bit more.
Now, what's so fascinating here isn't just that 56% figure. Look closer. That same survey found that 45% of Brahmins, the very caste group we most strongly associate with vegetarianism, they also identify as non-vegetarian. So this isn't some simple majority thing. This complexity runs deep, right through the entire social fabric.
To find some answers, we've got to go back way, way back to the ancient scriptures themselves. So do they actually command everyone to be vegetarian? Well, it turns out it's not quite that simple.
Take a look at this. It's from the Mahabharata. The great elder Bhishma is asked about eating meat. Now get this, in the very same conversation, he first says that avoiding meat will get you into heaven, but then, just a little later, he says that meat that's been properly sanctified with mantras is totally pure and acceptable. So the key takeaway here is that this debate, this complexity, it's not new. It's literally baked right into the ancient texts.
And this is not just some one-off reference. The Vyasa Samhita says a Brahmin should eat meat during certain ceremonies. The Manusmriti also gives the green light to sanctified meat. And then there's the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which actually recommends a dish of rice cooked with a bull's meat for a couple that wants to have a smart, scholarly son.
And this isn't just some fringe interpretation of old texts. The revered modern monk Swami Vivekananda himself wrote, very directly, that both Rama and Krishna are shown eating meat and drinking wine in the epics. For example, in the Valmiki Ramayana, there's even a scene where Sita promises to offer meat and 1,000 jars of wine to the river goddess Ganga if they cross safely.
Okay, so if meat eating was common and even sanctioned in religious texts, what happened? When and why did vegetarianism get so tied to the Hindu identity? Well, this is where the story takes a really interesting turn.
The big shift really kicks off around the 5th century BC. You have the rise of Jainism and Buddhism, and both of them put a huge emphasis on nonviolence, or ahimsa. To compete with their growing influence, a lot of upper caste Hindus, especially Brahmins and merchant classes, started adopting vegetarianism. It became a way to claim the moral high ground, and, since it was often more expensive, it also became a clear sign of wealth and high status.
Now, this historical link between what you eat, your caste, and your social status, it didn't just disappear. In fact, you can see its echo perfectly preserved in the data from today.
Dr. B.R. Ambedkar made a really powerful argument about this. He wrote that the ultimate dividing line wasn't just between vegetarians and meat eaters in general. No, the real tool of social division, he argued, was beef. The line between those who ate it and those who didn't was used to define and oppress the untouchables.
And just look at this chart. The data backs him up 100%. Surveys show this clear connection between caste and diet. Among scheduled tribes, a whopping 88% eat meat. For SC, ST, and OBC communities combined, it's 60%. But then you look at the general category, and it drops to 47%. That historical pattern is still right there in front of us.
And here it is. This might be the most telling statistic of all. According to India's own National Sample Survey Office, among all the Hindus who say they eat beef, a staggering 70% of them come from scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. This isn't just a theory, it's a social reality, right there in the national data, confirming exactly what Dr. Ambedkar was talking about decades ago.
So with all this context, the history, the caste dynamics, the data, we can finally start to understand how food, and specifically beef, has become such a powerful and such a divisive political tool in modern India.
Just look at the night and day difference in political messaging. In North India, the BJP often portrays eating beef as a grave sin and uses it to polarize voters. But then you go down to Kerala, and a BJP candidate there actually pledged to ensure good quality beef if he was elected. Or look at Tripura, where many Hindus eat beef. Suddenly, there was no mention of a beef ban in their election platform.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. This is a direct quote from a senior RSS leader who is also the BJP's election manager for Tripura. He openly said that since lots of Hindus in the Northeast eat beef and don't want a ban, you shouldn't force one on them. This just shows it's not really about a core religious belief. It's a political strategy that changes depending on where you are.
So, after looking at the data, the history, and the politics, what's the big takeaway? Well, it seems to all come down to reframing this whole thing as a matter of personal choice, not some rigid, top-down religious rule.
And let me be clear, as a vegetarian myself, there are tons of excellent reasons to choose not to eat meat. It's often better for the environment, it aligns with ethical concerns about how we treat animals, and study after study shows it can have major health benefits. These are all totally valid, powerful reasons to make that personal choice.
And that's really the heart of the matter. The problem isn't what your personal dietary choice is, whether you eat meat or not. The problem starts when that choice is turned into a weapon, a tool to claim you're morally superior, to enforce old social hierarchies, and to divide people for political points.
Ultimately, the story of beef in India is a story about so much more than just food. It forces us all to ask a much bigger question, one that's relevant all over the world. When does what's on our plate stop being about nutrition and culture and start becoming a weapon?